Hi, I'm John, founder of Idealstack. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a high availability enterprise class auto-scaling hosting platform for PHP-based websites and applications using Idealstack. First, we'll create a free account. So enter our details. Of course, we accept the terms and conditions. Next, we're asked to create an organization. So this should be our company name. On this screen, we're asked to connect Idealstack to AWS. So there's some instructions on how to do this. It's a simple process. You essentially just click this button. That will take you into AWS. If you don't have an AWS account, this is your opportunity to sign up for one. And you can sign up for the AWS free tier, and you'll have access to enough server resources to run up to perhaps 2 or 3 websites on Idealstack for up to a year. In this screen, all you have to do is check this button. And then we'll be taken to the CloudFormation Stack deploy page. This is deploying the CloudFormation Stack that creates the users and roles and permissions for Idealstack, and it will connect it to Idealstack once it's done. So a CloudFormation Stack is a way of scripting AWS, and it's something that is used a lot within the Idealstack system. It's at the core of how it works. We have to wait for this to apply, and it'll take up to 3 or 4 minutes to create all the resources. In the meantime, refresh periodically. Once the stack is applied, its status will change to create complete, and at that point we're done with this screen. We can close it, and the Idealstack system will now have logged into the Idealstack dashboard. Next, we need to create a stack. So the stack is the actual PHP cluster that your PHP sites are going to run on. You have a couple of choices here. One option is to create a minimal trial stack, which will run within the AWS free tiers constraints, which means you can trial Idealstack for free. The only trouble with that is that it is just a single tiny server, and it doesn't really show you, I suppose, some of the better capabilities of Idealstack, such as fault tolerance, auto-scaling, the ability to be spread across multiple availability zones. So if you want that, you can use the recommended production setup, and this is what we'd recommend people actually use in production. This will cost money though. This is outside the scope of what you can get within the AWS free tier. So we're going to choose that. This brings us to a page where we're asked to choose the region that we want the stack to be in. So we're going to choose US West. We've got to give the stack a name. You can choose the PHP version, and then a mail server verification email. So this needs to be an email address that you're going to verify so that you can use the simple email service. We'll use this, use a real email address there. Then we're going to create a site. We need to give it an SFTP username. And we need to enter an SSH public key. So Idealstack uses SFTP and SSH to connect to sites. We don't support insecure protocols like FTP, and also insecure ways of doing things using passwords. You need to use an SSH key. There's docs here on how to create an SSH key. It's pretty simple. I've already got one, so I'm just going to copy it to my clipboard, paste it in here, click this button. Now it's going to take us to this page where we're being asked to apply the stack to AWS. So the first thing we have to do though is we have to wait for the SSL certificate to be created for the database management system. And this will take a few seconds, up to a few minutes. It depends a bit on how long AWS takes to verify the certificate. So we'll just wait. Now that's happened, we're ready to apply the stack. So on the screen, we can click a few buttons to examine what it's going to do. In this case, the stack is going to create all the AWS resources needed to run your PHP hosting. So we're just going to click this button. And now the stack is applying. So again, as with the stack creation to create your initial user, this takes some time. In fact, the initial deployment of the stack takes approximately 25 minutes most of the time. So we're going to cut here and come back once that's done. Now the update is complete. Let's take a look at what's actually been created within AWS. So on the dashboard, there's a chart at the bottom of the screen which shows this. So Idealstack creates an ECS cluster, and on that it runs multiple different EC2 instances. You can configure however many you want, and within those it runs your sites as ECS Docker containers, tasks within ECS. And so each site is run within an isolated container and can't contact or interfere with the other sites on that cluster or the server itself. You don't have to know anything about the details of how to run things within Docker. That's handled by us. We're essentially just providing what could almost be described as a VPS to you by running your site and SSH and a few other essential services within a container. These containers also are managed from a security updates point of view by new versions being rolled out automatically by the Idealstack system, so you don't have to worry about these as little magical individual servers. Similarly with EC2 instances, they're created and destroyed when a new version is rolled out. In the background, Idealstack also creates a number of AWS services. It creates an RDS database, which provides a highly scalable database system that you can scale up or scale down as you see fit. There's also a DynamoDB session storage. So sessions are one of the challenges you have to solve when you're going to run PHP in a clustered environment, because by default PHP sessions just run on one server, and so every time you went to a new server you'd lose your session, meaning you'd lose your cart or your login status or any other important information stored there. So Idealstack solves this for you by creating a DynamoDB table for storing the sessions for each site, and that then can be spread across as many servers as it needs to be. That's done automatically. You don't even have to change your code in most cases to use that. SES, the simple email service, provides outgoing email, and EFS provides file storage. Now we're going to install WordPress on our Idealstack site. So that's a similar process to install any other PHP-based application. Firstly, you click on the site, you go to the Connect tab, and this shows you how to connect to the site. So you can connect to SFTP, you can connect to SSH to run shell commands, you can connect to the database, and also point DNS settings. First things first, we've got to create a database for WordPress. So let's go to the database manager, create a database, call it WordPress, and we'll add a user to access that database. We'll give that user a strong password. I'll generate one here. And we need to give that user all privileges on that database. And we need to save that password somewhere so we don't forget it, and also the name of the database and the user. So the next step now is to upload some files. So to do that, you use SFTP. Depending on your setup, you might just be able to click this button, which will open an SFTP client. Otherwise, use these details here. Here I've got the default WordPress zip file extracted already, and I'm just going to upload these files into the public HTML directory on the Idealstack system. So this will take a moment, so we'll just cut here and wait while that happens. Now that we've finished uploading the site, we're going to connect to it. So the easiest way to do that is at the bottom of the Connect tab to look at the testing domain. The testing domain is created automatically by Idealstack for every site, and you can access the site on that. We'll go through the WordPress installer. The password we saved earlier. For database host, you always just use database. That's the name of the host in Idealstack. Give the site some login details. And that's it. It's installed. So if we take a look, here's a default WordPress install. So the process of installing any other application is generally pretty similar. You're going to create a database. Sometimes you want to upload an existing database that you already have, which you can also do in the database management tool. and upload the files. Sometimes you can also use tools like SSHing into the server and pulling from GitHub, or even continuous deployment tools like PHP Deployer. Any tool that works over SSH, SFTP, and a regular database connection will work fine on Idealstack, because the whole point of it really is that we're trying to create a normal PHP hosting environment for you. So that's how easy it is to install a site on Idealstack.